This year, OnePlus put everything it had into the 8 Pro, leaving the vanilla OnePlus 8 feeling a little bland. Well, now that the OnePlus 8T is here, does this make the non-Pro OnePlus smartphone a bit more appealing? Let's find out. I am Royden and you're watching Gadgets 360 and this is my review of the OnePlus 8T. Now before we go ahead, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't and also hit that bell icon so you're the first to know whenever we have a new video. The OnePlus 8T continues to feature an aluminium frame with a glass back, but the design is very different compared to the OnePlus 8. The sides of the display aren't curved anymore, which makes the front look less striking, but it's definitely more practical as it's easier to see and interact with content and the edges of the display. It's also heavier and thicker compared to the OnePlus 8, making prolonged one-handed use quite fatiguing. The camera module is now shifted to the left corner instead of being in the middle, which I think looks very nice overall. There are some subtle improvements to the display too. It's the same size and resolution as that of the OnePlus 8, but it now supports a 120Hz refresh rate just like the 8 Pro. OnePlus claims that the touch sampling rate has also been bumped up to 240Hz for better touch response. The new design of the body and display make the 8T look good, and a 120Hz refresh rate is always welcome, but that's the extent of this model's physical upgrades. It still doesn't have any IP rating or even wireless charging, which is a little disappointing. HDR10 videos looked great when played from YouTube or locally. Now Netflix wasn't able to play back HDR content, but I think that should be easy to fix with an update. Also, the stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos get pretty loud and the sound is clear. The OnePlus 8T ships with the usual set of accessories, which is a data cable, charger, SIM eject tool, stickers, a silicone case, and the user guide. Now before we dive into the OnePlus 8T's performance, let's take a look at its software, which is also new. The 8T runs on Oxygen OS 11 out of the box, which is based on Android 11. Now the new Oxygen OS 11 features a new bold design, taking a cue from Samsung's One UI. Most of the stock OnePlus apps now show their names in big bold letters when you open them, and this shrinks to a regular size as you scroll down. You can see this across most of OnePlus stock apps and even some system menus. You now get a proper dark mode setting which can be scheduled and can work independent of the theme you've set. OnePlus has also finally added a proper always-on display feature, including a new clock face called Insight. Coming to the specs, OnePlus usually uses Qualcomm's slightly speedier plus SoC variants for its refreshes, but sadly we have no such luck with the OnePlus 8T. It continues to sport the standard Snapdragon 865 chipset and comes in two RAM and storage variants. Now I've been using the 12GB version of the OnePlus 8T quite extensively for about a week, and so far, performance has been nothing short of amazing. Now, at the time of this review, most games including Fortnite weren't able to take advantage of that 120Hz refresh rate, but OnePlus says it will be adding this feature for Fortnite soon via an update. Speaking of games, everything from Asphalt 9 Legends to Battle Prime ran very well with smooth, consistent frame rates. The top of the frame above the earpiece gets a bit hot when gaming, but the rest of the frame and even the back don't heat up as much. I also found the in-display fingerprint sensor to be quick and almost never encountered a misread. Face recognition also worked very well in my experience. OnePlus has padded the 8T with a slightly larger 4500 mAh battery compared to the 8's 4300 mAh. Now the OnePlus 8T is the first OnePlus device to support Warp Charge 65 fast charging. You get a slightly redesigned 65-watt charger with a USB Type-C output. Now with it, it took about 45 minutes to fully charge the 8T, which is pretty quick. I found battery life in general to be pretty good. With regular use, I was easily averaging about a day and a half with medium to light usage. The phone didn't do too well in our battery loop test, strangely, running for just under 16 hours. Unlike the company's previous offerings, the Warp Charge 65 charger also supports USB power delivery standard, thereby supporting a wide range of power output. You can use this high wattage charger to fast charge MacBooks, iPads, iPhones, and even other Android phones. Now coming to the cameras, the OnePlus 8 offered decent camera performance, and it seems like OnePlus isn't changing this formula too much with the 8T. And we have the optically stabilized 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor, which we've seen on previous OnePlus phones too. You also have a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle camera with a 123-degree field of view, a 5 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel monochrome camera. Now the selfie camera is still the same 16 megapixel Sony IMX471 sensor, which is used in the OnePlus 8. Now on a bright sunny day, the OnePlus 8T is capable of capturing some very striking photos. HDR is implemented very well, colors are punchy but not oversaturated, and there's a good amount of detail in landscape shots even after zooming in. Now the ultra-wide-angle camera captures good colors too, albeit with slightly weaker details. Close-up shot with the main camera also packs on pretty good details. The macro camera of the OnePlus 8T is a slight improvement over that of the 8, but it's still no match for the 8 Pro's macro implementation. Portrait mode in the 8T could also use a lot more work, as skin tones on human subjects often look completely off. Portrait shots of still objects though fared better in this respect. Now I didn't find much use for the monochrome camera, and you probably won't either unless you're into black and white photography. It's only used when you choose the last mono filter in photo mode. Daylight selfies look good with plenty of detail and fairly natural skin tones. Portrait mode attempts to blur the background behind you, but the result isn't always perfect. However, image quality of selfies takes a big hit in low light. Now, there's no nightscape to help improve the exposure sadly, but you can use a screen flash. Thankfully, the rear cameras fare much better in low light. Even without nightscape, the main camera picks up a decent amount of detail and suppresses noise very well. Now, the ultra-wide-angle camera does a good job of suppressing noise too, but details and exposure are a lot weaker. Nightscape helps with the exposure a bit, making objects slightly more visible in darker areas, but I found the results to be better with the primary camera than the wide-angle camera. The OnePlus 8T has solid video recording capabilities. You can record at 4K 30fps and switch between the primary and ultra-wide-angle cameras. The quality is very good in daylight, except for a mild shimmer in the footage when you walk about. The selfie camera is still limited to 1080p resolution, but there is stabilization and it works well. OnePlus has added some new video features to the 8T's camera app. Video focus is essentially focus tracking, and it worked pretty well in my experience. The OnePlus 8T is able to continue tracking an object even if it drops out of the frame momentarily and comes back in. Video portrait, as the name suggests, creates a depth effect around your subject, but this only works for humans. And finally, Video Nightscape offers a brighter exposure when shooting in low light compared to the standard video mode, but the resolution is limited to 1080p and the footage does look a bit grainy. Low light video quality was still average at best from the 8T, much like the OnePlus 8. Objects looked grainy and there was a constant jitter from the moment I began walking. The ultra-wide-angle camera fared pretty poorly too, producing almost an unusable footage. Now coming to the big question. Should you buy the OnePlus 8T? Well, the OnePlus 8 does introduce many changes, but still leaves out many of the features we were hoping to see, such as an IP rating and wireless charging. It's still a solid offering for a mid-tier flagship, as it looks great, it has a superb display, the cameras are decent, and battery life is solid. It also doesn't hurt to have super fast 65-watt charging. Now, compared to the OnePlus 8 equivalent variants, the 8T definitely offers better value, as you're getting a lot more features for less money. Now, I don't think there's any reason to buy the OnePlus 8 right now with the 8T in the market, unless of course OnePlus drops its price considerably. Now, keep in mind there's also fierce competition. Samsung has the Galaxy S20 FE at about 49,990 rupees, which also offers promising specifications and features. Then there's all those festive sales to look forward to as well, which are right on the horizon, which are sure to offer some good deals on flagship smartphones. So that's been my review of the OnePlus 8T. Let me know what you think about this phone in the comments below. And as always, for all things tech, log on to gadgets360.com.